Hey, this is Keith. Welcome to How to Build Your Own Home. I had a couple of students talk to me or you messaged me and they said, hey, did you ever finish that greenhouse? I started a series some time ago on a greenhouse. I go, yes, I did. I forgot to do a post on it. So it's finished. I always have a work in progress, things I'm still doing inside the greenhouse. But let me show you what happens when the builder takes on the aquaponics industry, not really the industry, but takes on aquaponics and builds his own greenhouse. I'm going to walk you through it and explain all the things I've done. So come on in. Okay, we're in. Welcome. It's warm. It's probably about 15 degrees difference from the inside to the outside. Wouldn't you say, Smudge? Smudge is my oldest son. He's behind the camera right there. So it's nice and warm in here. It's the first, second week in March. So it's a colder still in the wintertime outside, but not too bad. But inside it's really, really nice. You know, I've got banana trees here with actual bananas growing on the banana tree. I've got, what do you call them? Avocado trees I just recently planted, orange trees, more banana trees. And this here is what you call an aquaponic system. And I'm going to kind of walk you through that. There's a difference between aquaponics and hydroponics. Aquaponics has fish, and I have lots and lots of fish. I probably have about close to 200 fish in the two tanks here, and I will feed them and I'll show you those fish here. And so fish produce the waste, and then the plants utilize the waste, clean the water, and as a result I have crystal clear water. And I use koi because I love koi. They're beautiful, and if you take care of them, they can have an age of around 30 years. I've heard some go as high as 50 and even higher than that years. So as these fish grow, they're just fun to watch. They're just so docile. And in the summertime, they're pigs. You just feed them and feed them and feed them, and they're just awesome animals. But I just finally went vertical, so I've got plants, herbs, basil, leafy greens, more herbs, all just starting to grow vertically. I designed this without a sump pump. A lot of times they have these and they drain into a trough, and then that trough goes into a sump pump and the sump pump pumps it back out. And I didn't want to do that. So I wanted my aquaponics to actually drain right back into the pond. So you see that I have water coming in here. At the bottom of the pond, you can't tell it, but there's a kind of a bubble and a disc feature. And at the bottom of that, that's my intake. So I'm taking the water here, taking it through the bead filter, which I'll talk about in just a second. And it splits. So 25% of it comes back into these plants here, 75% goes into the bead filter over there, and then it comes back out here. And it's pretty clean water. I have this stocked with about 150 fish inside this tank. Most people wouldn't stock it that much because of the excessive ammonia. But I have so much nitrification taking place that I'm able to handle that load. I've got a ton of air filtration taking place. I've got the nitrification taking place in the towers. And then I've got a bead filter over here that backwashes every 35 minutes. And so I'm constantly creating nitrification. And so these fish are very, very healthy. Same thing with the tank over there. I'll have vertical towers all the way through here onto the other pond over there as well. I've got about 50 fish in that. And so I've actually got a lot of height in here. One of the things I've learned, and two things I've learned, is how do you warm your greenhouse in the winter and how do you cool it in the summer? Well, a couple of things I learned through some hard knocks. I created a high hoop house, which is almost 15 feet high. If you were to climb up and go up, 5 or 10 feet or so, it would be very hot up there. So I have fans at that end, and I have windows at this end, and in the summer when it gets hot, it pulls the air across here. The higher your hoop house, the easier it is to keep the heat up and away from the plants down low. And so what do you do about the wintertime? What do you do to heat it if you need to heat it? Well, in previous videos that we've done on this, you saw what we put underneath this greenhouse. We put in an air vent system, a subterranean earth battery system, and it's quite massive. And the air intake comes in on the south side, goes underground. We capture the heat during the day. It goes underground, and I've got all these tubes all the way through underground, and it comes up behind us in these two right in front of the avocado trees, because they're the most temperamental. So I'm almost destined to make sure that my avocado trees survive this hot summer. But I've got these vents coming out, and when I turn the vent on, I'll show you that. And I'll go turn the vent on, and you'll see it come out through the weaves. So I got cool air coming out of here, and it's right in front of the avocado tree and right in front of that avocado tree. So I'm hoping, because I live in the desert, and it can get up to, on an average day, 105 to 115 during July and August. Those are the months that are really, really brutal. So I have that just for those months in the afternoon between 11:30 and 3 o'clock. It can get kind of hot in here. So that's going to help offset that, because I've got a constant temperature 9 feet down. Those pipes are going through and pushing out cool air right where the avocado trees are. These are bacon avocado. I got them from a grower in North Carolina. They can handle temperatures as low as 20 degrees, but I'm worried about the heat, because avocado are kind of a tropical plant. So we'll see how things go. What I've learned in greenhouses is the more foliage you have, these orange trees, these banana trees, and even the avocado trees, they'll fill in more foliage. And with all the foliage hanging as well, that creates a cooler environment. So I'm actually trying to get as much foliage going as I possibly can. What I've also found is with all these tanks in here, I've got a 2,000 gallon tank over here, and this here is about a 900 to 1,000 gallon tank here. That acts as somewhat of a battery for heat in the winter time. And I don't get too cold here. It doesn't get below freezing very often, but it does get cold enough where the orange trees, the avocado trees, the banana trees, they can all struggle. So with the lining that I have on here, this here is an actual lining from a manufacturer in Germany, and it's actually designed for greenhouses. And so it's got a double layer on there. It's like the bubble wrap, but you can't pop it. It's too rigid. But with that double lining on there, I actually have an insulator. And because the heat is so brutal here, I actually have a shade cloth on top of that as well. This here acts as a really, really good insulator. And then I just made my own frames. This here is out of redwood, and we put it in the garage, created a little template, and got them wet, really, really wet, and bent them, glued them, and screwed them in place. And now we have a hoop house that's made of redwood, which was a lasting quality. It's going to stay. I've had some really brutal winds in this greenhouse, and it's held it pretty nicely. In the evening time, I've got it all lit, so I've got lighting everywhere. It's pretty cool. Anyway, this is what a builder did, but one of the things, how a builder would go about it, at least how I would go about it. And I wanted my greens right over the pond, ease of access. I can come over here and I can lift my basil out. This is a basil just planted last weekend. The root system's already going nuts. And this was planted just over the weekend. It was a really small plant. I got some lobelia in here as well. This here is a system I don't recommend. I know the gentleman who designed these. It's from Bright Agrotech and Nate Story. I love the guy, very smart. But this is really hard to work with. I like it when I can just take it out, and I manufacture these myself. I like it when I can take out the plant, put it in. Easier to manage for me anyway. But this here is designed to get all the light in one direction, and that's why it's designed like that. I've been trying, I keep trying. This environment is just a place where I try out new things, and it's fun. But I wanted a greenhouse where I could have fresh greens, grow fish, because I do a lot of custom homes, and a lot of people are getting into koi fish. And so it's so expensive to buy koi fish. Just a fish like that is like 180 bucks. So now I've raised my own koi, so if I have a client that wants to have a koi pond or some water feature with koi in it, I says, come and pick some koi out, and I've got them all ready to go here. So anyway, this here, I want to show you one more thing over here. Just kind of showing what I went through, and I did more research on water filtration than I did anything else. And the one thing with fish is they create waste, which creates ammonia, and that is a toxic waste. And so you want to enter into what's called a nitrification process, and that's turning waste into oxygen, meaning not into oxygen, but you're getting it exposed to a lot of surface area and a lot of oxygen. And the more that happens, you increase the nitrification process, so now you actually purify the water. So this here is a bead filter, and it's an air lift system basically. So there's no mechanical parts other than the pump over here. So the pump pulls the water from the bottom, runs it through the bead filter, splits a little bit to feed the plants, 75% goes back through the bead filter, and then once a week I change out the sludge. I'll show you what that looks like. This here is the sludge removal, and you can see that all coming out. There's the sludge. And it's almost done. Now it's clear water again, okay? Sometimes if I let that go too long, there's more sludge there. But I do that twice a week, and that means I'm using maybe 2 to 3 gallons of water a week. Sometimes more, sometimes less, depending upon how much feed I give the fish. If I give the fish a lot of feed, wow, that produces a lot of waste on here. And it's tempting to, my wife and I love feeding the fish. And anyone who raises koi will tell you, they will eat and eat their little piglets. And so they could eat all day long. So that just means I have more waste here. But the point I'm getting at is I have grow beds outside, and I can dump gallons and gallons and gallons of water on that grow bed, and it just gets sucked into the aqua filter down below, and it's just a lot of cost in water. So one of the reasons why I went with aquaponics is because it's far less water use. I'm in the desert, water's expensive. So this here is a great way to save water. Plus the leafy greens grow so fast in this environment. It's really exciting to see it happen. Anyway, I have a bead filter for this separate unit, and I have a larger bead filter for the larger pond. The reason why I did that is because if something were to go wrong, then I could move the fish into one, do the fix I need, move them back in. I have that ability. I just didn't want one big pond. I wanted two, and as a result, that gives me options down the road. So anyway, don't do koi or fish without a bead filter system. And this here is the Endurance system. It's manufactured in Mississippi. I'll give you a link to them below. It's just the best bead filter I've ever found. And I went through a lot of research. And this here is one of the best I found. And a lot of commercial growers use this bead filter system. This one can scale up to 2,000 gallon tank, but it's only managing a 1,000 gallon tank. That one can scale up to a 4,000 gallon tank, but it's only managing a little under 2,000 gallons. So they're not even at full capacity. So I really love these bead filters. So anyway, this is a greenhouse with aquaponics system. What a builder would do if you took on an aquaponics system and a greenhouse system in a hot desert. So I hope that helps you out. Finally did the final on this greenhouse, and hope you enjoy. Thanks.